Hello, everyone. I'm Steve Odland, the President and CEO of the Conference Board, and previously the Chairman and CEO of Office Depot and AutoZone. I also currently serve as Lead Director of the General Mills Corporation. I'd like to thank Knowità for providing the Conference Board an opportunity to share some of our insights with you today and acknowledge the really important role that Knowità plays in the business world. The Conference Board is a global, member-driven think tank that provides trusted insights for what's ahead. For more than 100 years, we've been helping leaders navigate the biggest issues impacting business. And today, I'll share with you the important insights that we have for our 2021 business environment. This year, executives around the world have had to navigate a very unusual time. The worst economic crisis of our lifetimes and the worst healthcare crisis of our lifetimes. And several months into this, the challenges still exist. But let me share some encouraging news. Despite the challenges, executives around the world are feeling more optimistic today than they have since the start of the pandemic. These results come from our CEO confidence work, and it tells us that 63% of CEOs expect to increase or at least maintain their capital spending for 2021. They also expect little or no problem finding and hiring qualified people. And finally, 75% of CEOs plan to raise wages for their employees. And when they're asked, what are the most important long-term impacts of COVID-19, they tell us that speeding up the pace of the digital transformation in their environment is number one. They also say that they have learned that they need to be very transparent in communication with employees. It's caused them to do a rethink of their business model to make sure that they're reflecting their customers' preference shifts. And finally, a flatter organization is what they've learned through this period of time. So I'd say that CEOs are feeling cautious, but better about the environment. And they believe that COVID will make permanent changes in their business operating environment. Another issue we discussed is how companies will engage with employees going forward. And they tell us 5 things. First of all, more employees will work primarily from home, even post-COVID, meaning at least 3 days a week. So 34% of companies expect employees will work remotely, even post-COVID. And it doesn't seem to be affecting employees' productivity, which is very interesting. Second, companies are 3 times more willing to hire remote workers now. 36% are willing to go completely remote, but even so, a lot of organizations are willing to go predominantly remote, especially those in the professional and office space. Third, many organizations are reporting an actual productivity increase with remote work. That's interesting to us because, part of it is due to the number of hours worked, but a lot of people say it's not even hours, it's just that people are more productive remotely. Not what you would expect. Fourth, working significantly more hours has come at a cost to employee well-being. So many companies report negative effects on work-life balance, issues with burnout, and so forth that companies need to deal with. Fifth, and finally, most organizations are planning for a return to the workplace around March of 2021, but there's a significant concern most recently with this second wave that maybe that will extend further into 2021. Interestingly, executives around the world are telling us that they're more willing to source and hire remote workers anywhere in the world, regardless of where their company headquarters are. That will give them a much larger talent pool, but it raises some interesting questions. How will a company make completely virtual employees feel engaged and part of their corporate community? How will managers learn to deal with these remote workforces? And finally, how can a company develop and maintain a consistent corporate culture if their employees are spread around the world? So these are the types of challenging questions that I think will keep business leaders in particular, awake during 2021. Finally, I want to touch on an issue that I know that we all agree is important in this period of time, and that's workplace safety. Our research tells us that junior employees especially feel pressure to return to the workplace, but they're really worried that their fellow employees will not deploy proper safety measures and thereby increase the risk of illness. And so it's really incumbent on companies to train workers and teach them the appropriate the appropriate tasks that they need to follow. And so communications are really, really important. So in conclusion, 2021 will be a year of large change, and the successful companies will be those that adapt to these changes and proactively make them in their organizations. I'd like to thank Knowità again for the opportunity to share these insights from the conference board. And for anyone who'd like to learn more, you can look at our website, www.conferenceboard.org. Thanks very much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your conference.